righty. All righty. We're checking in. You guys are looking at some of this snow. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the snow that's kind of settled into the region here. So we're making sure you guys can hear me and double check. I always do that so you guys can, I can make sure you guys hear me here and so I can talk to you for the next few minutes before we have our another show on our 5+ streaming app here. As I always double check to make sure you guys can hear me. We got Show Me St. Louis coming up here, so I think you guys can hear me, but I'll double check. Yep. All right, you guys can hear me. Cool. Let's pop out to this for a second. Weather Impact Meteorologist Garry Frank with an update as we continue to talk about impending snow in our area again. Now, main differences from this snow: it's not as heavy, it's low moisture content. You can brush this stuff away. But the fact that it's coming in during a busy rush hour time period where everybody's going to be around the midday and early afternoon and evening hours, that's what I want to highlight here real quick. So as we focus on what's happening here, let's look at what's going on in the big picture here. Our weather impact alert continues. Now, notice how this widespread area of snow has kind of settled into Columbia, Fulton, and starting to work its way into Gasconade County and Phelps County as well. And I want to share an update with you now that we have not, that literally just happened at the end of the 8 o'clock show. There have been several counties that have been filled in to a winter weather advisory simply because we're starting to see some newer model data that suggests that, yeah, we're going to get on the higher end, closer to 3 inches, and it's going to impact us during the afternoon and evening commute. That does include St. Louis City, St. Louis County as well. That includes Franklin County. That includes areas in St. Charles County. That includes, you know, pretty much all the same spots that were pretty close to it on Saturday. Now, like I said, our main differences from this system remain the fact that we have, you know, this light, fluffy snow. We have temperatures that are below freezing. They're all below freezing. They're going to stay cold, right? So the main difference is this is all going to be below freezing here at this point. Now, our snowfall rates are much, much lower. So we don't have a high-end you know, threshold of 8, 9, 10 inches to the north where we saw some of that snow. That's a main difference here. But, you know, from a temperature standpoint purely, I mean, look how cold it is here. It doesn't matter where you are. This snow is going to fall and it's going to stick here at this point. Let's look at a couple of different things as I show you a bigger picture of the radar and where we are with that, because you continue to look at the big picture of where all this snow is off to the west. I looped this here for the last 45 minutes. And you'll notice that, you know, we have a steady diet of this snow that's kind of settled into the region. As you start to see the leading edge of this, it's hitting some pretty dry air. And I pull this up. I've been able to kind of check some of these cameras. I pull this up in Rolla because you can't see much in the way of snow falling on this thing here in Rolla. And as I pull up some of the MoDOT cams. But what I can tell you is we're going to continue to see more of this snow that pushes through the area from Herman. You'll see this in Gasconade County. Now, if I'm going to pinpoint spots that probably aren't reaching the surface, it's more of this. You're seeing these darker shades that indicate the heavier bands of snow that are settling in. And it's taken some time, even as I just looped this the last 15 minutes or so, you're able to see that, yeah, a lot of the snow is finally starting to settle in. Let's show you Futurecast and totals before I look at another a picture of the radar, because Futurecast getting this stuff in by 11, 12 o'clock now, and really through noon, I think we're going to be dealing with snow. You'll notice areas from Farmington to the south where you're not seeing that consistent snow continues to be snow-free, but I do think it mixes in with a little sleet at times. And notice those heavier bands of snow that continue to push through the area by 3, 4, 5 o'clock, everybody getting some sort of wintry precipitation. This is definitely going to slow us down over the next several hours. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, you continue to push through the area as more of that snow still is persistent. 9, even 10 o'clock, I think the snow still remains persistent, particularly in the Metro East. And so because of that and because of the light, fluffy snow that we're expecting, I do think that we're going to see closer to about 2 to 3 inches here as we look ahead. So, you know, from an updated timeline, I do think that overall it is going to be more like, you know, let's say 11 a.m. through about 10 o'clock. I think that's kind of our updated timeline where we should expect our wintry precipitation to return. Now, this is a lot different in terms of the type of snowfall, but that's why our weather impact alert continues for this wintry precipitation. 11 o'clock, areas to the west. This settles in by lunchtime and really carries through a lot of us by 10 o'clock. Now, if you see 11 hours of snow and you're going to say, oh my gosh, this is a ton of snow, it's not quite a ton of snow, but our chances for snow are definitely going up in regards to the amounts. So I want to share that with you here because I think our snowfall accumulation higher to the north, you're looking at 2 to 3 inches, even St. Louis and the city And you'll notice some of these numbers are creeping up even higher, closer to 3 inches, even based on what I saw this morning, right? So it's nudging up a little bit. What we don't have is a higher end threshold where you're going to see 5 or 6 inches. There may be a spot to the north that gets up to 4. However, for the most part, we're seeing 2.5, 3 inches, 3.5 inches at the most in general. So like I said, we can expect with a consistent basis and consistent diet of snow, it's going to be with us through a good majority of the day. So as we focus on futurecasts, let's look ahead once again. A lot of this initially, 10 or 11 o'clock, watch how this starts to work its way in. Initially, the leading edge of a lot of that still evaporating as it hits a dry layer of air that settles in. But even as our temperatures are in the mid-20s, we have light to moderate snow that persists 2, 3 o'clock, 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I think we're going to continue to see more of that snow. This is light. These are snow showers that will pick up in intensity at times and become more in the way of flurries as we have a few of those snow showers that push through the area throughout the day. 10 or 11 o'clock, this persists, and really overall, I think we'll see more of that push through the area, and it gets really cold tonight. Let's see if we have any questions here, and I know people in general are probably wondering if they're going to have school tomorrow. I would expect that we would, you know, for the most part. You know, I just don't see that being the case, but, you know, the roads are going to be continually cleared. Like I said, this is probably going to get compact down on the surface when you drive over it pretty consistently. You know, for the most part, we got, let's see, let's double check. For the most part, let's check in what's going on. Let's answer some of your questions here from a standpoint of what's going on. Somebody asked, what about Dexter, Missouri? So watching in on the stream or traveling down to Dexter, Missouri, you're going to be dealing with probably less in terms of snowfall, but more in terms of a mix of rain, sleet, freezing rain, and snow to the south. So Christy asked that as well. But like I said, from a standpoint of what's going on, even if I could pull up some of the cameras, I could probably pull up what's going on in Kansas City really quickly. And let's see, my cameras, I believe I can get to some of these cameras that are in Kansas City, and I could probably give you an idea. East St. Louis, Bree, I think you're still going to get upwards of about 2 to 3 inches even in East St. Louis. Nan asked what time's it going to hit Festus. I think Festus, you're looking at about 11 or 11:30 is when we're going to see that. Bree, you got work at 2:15. It's going to be snowing. I do think Farmington, you're actually going to see less snow. And Amanda asked if schools are closing early. I'm not sure about that. There may be a couple of handfuls of schools that close early, but I don't think it's not quite as bad as Saturday. That doesn't mean it won't slow things down, but just expect that, you know, that's a case-by-case basis. I'm not in charge of the schools. I don't think it's going to snow that hard, but there are certainly going to be places that, you know, definitely keep that in mind. It's here at 9:55. We continue to look at that. Mount Olive, same type of thing. Tamika asked if there's going to be ice. There's not going to be ice in the sense that ice is coming down or this is going to be freezing over. What happens with any snow on an untraveled road or that sticks to the road that's untreated, it gets compact down, and to me that gets pretty slick. So that's one of the things that we look at here as you look at the big picture. This is all snow, and you know, this is unlike last snow where you could brush this away with your hand and a brush. This is what we're dealing with here. You know, from a standpoint of, you know, snow, it's not going to snow all that hard. It's just consistent and persistent. So, you know, from that standpoint, we've got some pretty good snow that's going to be around. Let me see if I can find some of these cameras here and pull up what's going on. Here we go. Browse map. I'm going to try to do this for you. I know Overland Park's probably snowing at a pretty good clip here. Let's do this one, and that one's not working. Yeah. So this is what's, I'm going to put it on here. Let's look at how Overland Park is doing. This is on the other side of the state, and I'm going to switch that here. Where's my camera on this one? I'm running out of time because I think Show Me St. Louis is coming up. Let me just switch this up and hit it for you so you can see it. This is, let's see, doing this on the fly, so it's always, that's the wrong one. This is in Kansas City. I'm just going to put it, I'm just putting it there so you see it. I'm editing on the fly. I think this is, I want to say this is Overland Park Golf Course. That's what's on here. So, yeah, that's what it looks like on the other side of the state, right? They're going to get a pretty steady diet of snow For us, it will look like this later on at night, but we're going to get an additional 2 to 3 inches of snow. It's sticking automatically. It's cold. This is the type of snow that they're getting. It's going to stick, and it's going to be around for a good majority of the day. So if someone was stuck at the airport today and wants to change flight tomorrow, do you think roads will be okay at 5 a.m.? I do, and I don't think flights are going to get canceled or delayed. I really think they'll be delayed maybe, but they won't get canceled. There are going to be de-icing delays. It's not going to blow out the runway or something like that. There's no cancellations today, I would bet. So, so that's where we are. Christine said the school district I work for is on standby, the possibility of calling school early. So thanks for that update, Christine. Here at 9:57, when's the snow ending? I don't expect it to snow until after 10 o'clock. So that's a main thing. What time is it going to be in St. Peter's? I would say it's about 11. In plowable snow, or is it just a salting event? They're going to plow this snow for sure. It's just a different plow where it's not wet and slushy, it's dry. So it's going to be pushed away, it's going to blow around. It'll be packed down like ice. So those are the main things that we look ahead to. I'm getting pretty close to Show Me St. Louis. I'm going to pull this back on, and we will leave the radar on. Meteorologist Jim Castillo and meteorologist Scott Connell will be on for updates later on. You can see any area in the dark right there that I've pulled up. That means that it's probably reaching the surface. So that snow is going to pick up pretty soon. So keep that in mind. So that's where we are and we'll answer your questions offline and follow along. You can look at this radar here, and we'll have updates throughout the rest of the day.